All right, Sports Spectrum here at Super Bowl week in Miami Beach, and we got Jordan Matthews, friend of the show, friend of the ministry, all-around good guy. What's up, Jordan?
Appreciate it, man. Good to be here with you, Jason. I'm obviously cool to be here with the team, but really excited to sit down with you.
Yeah, this is awesome. Glad we were able to connect, and this has been a weird year for you. I was looking again because you and I spoke yesterday. We're taping this again today and recording this, and it really was a crazy season for you. You started out the year with San Francisco and then up and down and all over the place and back, and here you are in the Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah. When I came into free agency, at the end of that season with the Eagles, when me and my wife sat down and talked, we thought that we were going to have a chance to stay in Philly. And so when that didn't happen, it was like, okay, we're going to free agency again. Last time we waited a long time before I signed with the Patriots, so we really didn't know what the climate was going to look like as far as interest. And then when the 49ers called and a couple other teams, but I was like, man, I think this 49ers team is going to be special. I knew they had a lot of close games the year before, and I knew Jimmy G had gotten hurt, so I knew he was going to be healthy. And I knew there was a chance that they were going to take Bosa in the draft. So I was like, I think this team's going to be a force to be reckoned with. So when I had a chance to come out here for camp, it was a stiff competition. I had a lot of young guys I was competing against, but they got me a lot better. They challenged me, but also put me in a good place where I felt like, man, this is a place I wasn't going to be comfortable. I wasn't just going to make a team and it was going to be easy. I knew it was going to be hard. So, and it was, man. Got released at the end of camp. That was hard. Spent 4 weeks at home, signed back to the 49ers, was with the team for 4 weeks, got released again, was in California for 1 week, signed by the Eagles, was with the Eagles for 3 weeks, released again, at home for 2 weeks, then signed back with the 49ers, and now we're here at the Super Bowl. And there was so much that happened in between then, cars being shipped, leases being broken, moving in and out of hotels, packing, unpacking. So trust me, it was a rough ride, but at the end of the day, man, I got so much closer, in my walk with the Lord. There's a lot of alone time you spend with the Lord, after some of those hard phone calls. But, man, I tell you what, it's been a good ride, and I'm glad to be here.
So it's Proverbs 3:6 is what I think about. And all your ways acknowledge me, and I will make your path straight. Or all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Nothing that you just described sounds like a straight path, and yet it probably was when you look back at all that God has done. Can you explain this path that somehow doesn't sound straight, but in your eyes, knowing that you're connected with the Lord, is straight?
Yeah, I would say the hardest part was just there was never a time where I just felt like, there was just this level of consistency. There was always change. My favorite Bible verse is Galatians 1:10, and it's, we shouldn't be fighting for the approval of man. It should be of God. And as long as we're trying to fight for the approval of man, then we really can't consider ourselves a servant of God. And this was Paul talking, and you're talking about somebody who's very serious about his walk. Well, you think about it, your first day at a job, it's really hard not to fight for the approval of man. I had a first day on the job like 4 times this year. And so it was constantly that battle of saying, okay, God, I want to be doing this. I want to do this for you. But every single time I'm getting released, coming back to these teams, I'm always trying to put my best foot forward. And that was always the hardest thing that I had to fight against. And then also, you're trusting the Lord, you're walking with him. And then these hits keep coming. This adversity keeps coming. You're like, okay, God, why? Like, I see these other guys. It seems like, things are going well for them. Like, I think I'm doing the right things. And then after a while, you just realize that, it's not about, what you're doing. It's like, man, God's always doing something in the midst. He's always doing something, underneath the surface. And it probably wasn't until the last time that I got released by the Eagles, when I really didn't think I was going to get signed again, that I actually just say, I'm going to stop efforting this. And I'm just going to do what it says when it says just abide. Like, I want to stop trying to figure out what God's doing or saying, okay, I get it now. This is what he's trying to do. He's trying to bring me back to the Eagles to get the band back together. Oh, he's bringing me to the 49ers because they're a good team. No, maybe right now he's molding me for the ministry I'm going to do in a couple years. Or maybe my son may go through adversity in his sport later on, and I can say, hey, son, guess what? I went through the same thing, and look, like, me and your mom were happy. Were we not able to be the parents that you needed? And so just not trying to always just say, okay, here's what it is, or trying to effort it, but just abiding, in the Lord and just having fun doing what I can do out here on the football field. And once I started doing that, I tell you what, man, days got a lot better. I had a lot more peace whenever I had a good practice or a bad practice. And then I think that last call with the 49ers, I spent less time trying to figure out what God was doing. I said, you know what? I know your plan for me is good, so I'm just going to abide in it and just walk in it.
Talking to a couple of your teammates, they felt the presence of Jordan Matthews when you returned. When you left, they said something was missing, talking about leading team Bible studies and kind of being a spiritual leader. Tell me about embracing that role and guys looking to you to say, hey, keep me accountable, help me in my journey.
Yeah, the hardest part, I think, always in that role is whenever you take that step forward and say, okay, like, I'm going to start to lead this. I mean, that's why the book of James says not everybody should be leaders. You're going to be judged a lot harder. And I don't think that's just on the other side of eternity. I think that's on this side. And I think rightfully so. You're going to be held to a standard because people are going to say, okay, if you're leading the team prayers, if you're leading the Bible studies, guys are going to watch how you walk. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a guy on my team who was a professing atheist or just had a lot of questions or was searching. And the second I shared my faith with them, every time I looked around, they were staring at me. They're watching how I live. And I would love to explain to them, like, trust me, like, I might mess up. This has nothing to do with who Jesus is. But I just understand that's the human condition. That's human nature. You know, if Richard Sherman goes out there at practice and says, hey, guys, we got to get our stuff together, everybody's going to look to him to be a Hall of Famer. It's just the case. And so I would say that's always the biggest thing is, man, you know, Book of Timothy, like, you know, Paul's telling Timothy, like, hey, like, you need to not just watch what you're teaching, watch your learning. You got to watch your life because that's going to be the factor that helps, you know, your salvation and somebody else's. And so just always constantly telling myself that, like, I don't have to be perfect, but I do want to walk this out in the best way possible because I might be the only Bible that some of these guys read once Bible study ends. And so I take that responsibility pretty seriously, but I also want to be as authentic as possible. I can be very honest about the sin I'm struggling with in my life with guys on the team, and I want to be like that. I don't want guys to think I'm perfect. You know, I want them to know Jesus is perfect, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to drop them off at the cross, and then, okay, at that point, the work's done. I can't do it. He can only be the one that can save you. So that's always the goal, and, you know, I think that's what gives me the most joy.
Jordan Matthews, man, thanks. It's been great to catch up with you. I appreciate you, man. Always appreciate your friendship and appreciate your walk. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Jason. You too.